So
it,
yeah, I
it's
had her
always
make it for me.
when you're like putting yourself out in like the social media world. I always feel like, it's always where people make money is wear a t-shirt that says that I am rebel, and like promote all day. I am a walking billboard sometimes, like
Yeah.
I wear so many random t-shirts of everything. But Miss Jenn, I will call you Miss Jenn. I think that always just flows better just with everything. Like I feel like a Mrs. just like adds like, it's like Mrs. It's like so it's like too proper, like it's like as if you
Yeah,
would
it
call me
is. And I'm not
sir,
a missus.
Yeah, like
Yeah,
being called
yeah.
sir sucks, like so that's why I feel like Mrs. is like that. So like Miss, whether married, whatever. I'm always gonna refer to Miss, and that's even when I'm working
All
with
right.
patients. I'm always like, "Hello, Miss, how are you?" Even though she's
Oh,
80 years old and her
yeah.
husband's sitting right next to her. So,
Yeah, and I'm sure like
um,
the older ladies like it too. So you're not
yeah,
like, "Hey, ma'am."
yeah,
Nobody wants to
exactly,
be a
right,
ma'am.
exactly. So, Jen, I have not seen you since I think like 2000. I was like trying to make the math in my head. It was like 2008, 2009, probably.
Wow. And it doesn't
Yeah.
sound like that long ago, but it is. It's
Yeah,
so
it is.
long
Isn't it
ago.
crazy? Like it's almost like three lifetimes
Yeah,
ago sometimes when you really think about it.
it
So many things have
is.
developed. Yeah. So you are a mother now, a
Yeah.
mother of three, killing it in
Yes.
doing it. I've been always following closely to your Instagrams, and I have to just give you props up because I am in
Thank
agreement that being
you.
a mother is like one of the hardest jobs, and that yours times three. Like
Yeah.
that. So you're
Oh my
doing
God, yeah. Yeah, it's a
so
lot. And yeah, thank you. You always been supportive of me and I appreciate that. And right back at you.
yeah, well, you make great content. Like I'm always a fan of content, whether it be you're
No.
making a song, or you're making a movie, whatever. I'm gonna watch. I'm gonna be like, all right, I know her, I know him. I'm gonna sit down and give it attention. And your
Yeah,
screens
thanks.
are just so funny, and especially when you're
Thank
doing
you.
live, it's your New York accent that I'm always like, yes.
Oh yeah, because now you're away from that. So because I don't even think I have one anymore, but maybe I
Yeah,
do
no,
still.
it comes out. It comes out like on your like lives when you're just like talking. Like it'll come
Yeah.
out a little bit. And then people tell me up here, I feel like my Long Island accent is gone. When I first got to college up here, people were like, dude,
Yeah.
you're from Long Island. Like everybody knew. I feel like that's
Really?
died down. Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
funny because you're like, you don't even hear it anymore, or you feel like, oh, you kind of adjust when you're in another state. Like I went to school in Connecticut, I went to college in Connecticut, and they'd always call me Long Island Jen. And then I felt like I toned down the accent, but maybe not.
Yeah, no. I no, it's not like like it's not what am I thinking? Like King of Queens, like
Oh my God, no.
yeah, like her, Leah Remy, I think her name
Yeah,
is, the
yeah.
actress. Like
Yes,
that's like
you
over the
remedy.
top. It's not that,
Yeah,
It's
no, it's
just
not
a
me.
little words like when you say
Yeah.
talk, like stuff like that. And even
Yes.
I'll hear myself sometimes. I'll be like talking to someone. I'm like, I'll be like, exactly what I just said. I'll be talking to someone like I
Yeah.
hear my New York, or when I say coffee,
Yeah.
coffee is a big one for me.
Yeah, I was
Like
gonna say coffee. Coffee, dog, yeah, like things like that.
and
Totally.
obviously we're both coffee drinkers, so it's always the
Oh my God,
caffeine.
yeah.
Yeah,
Oh my
addicted.
God, yeah, I, like, live yeah, through it. I feel like I don't have that many vices anymore anyway, so I'm like, "Listen, let me have my coffee and all of it." I have a lot of kids and 3
So let me
kids, and
ask you,
one's
you
a
throw sugar in
baby,
there or no?
yeah. Yeah, I do, I like sugar. I like
Okay,
I
good,
I
good,
like a
good.
strong cup, but I do like sugar. What about you? How do you have it?
I am almond milk with 4
Oh,
liquid
yeah.
cane sugars at Dunkin' Donuts. Yeah. Like
There
when
you
people hear me
go.
ordering Dunkin's, they're like, "Dude, you're not at Starbucks, you're not at a coffee house." And I'm like, "Yo, I need my almond milk. That's what I do?"
Yeah, no, I don't drink dairy either. So, well, I don't know, you might drink dairy, but
No, I
I
don't.
usually go for the oat milk. You don't drink dairy at all?
No,
Me
because
either.
I am lactose intolerant. Adult,
Yeah.
like adult onset. Yeah, when I turned like 20, I want to say like low 20s, like 23, 24. I used to have like cocoa puffs in like those mixing bowls with like whole grain like milk when I was growing up. Never
Yeah.
got sick. All of a sudden when I graduated college, done. Like I could not have without getting like feeling like horrible shit. So I had to give it up, and I
Yeah.
realized that actually one of the girls that I was dating at the time was like, "You might be lactose intolerant," because we would go out for like ice cream. I'd be sick like
Yeah.
right after that. So we yeah, she's
Yeah.
like, why don't you try lactose free milk? And I was like, what's that? And then boom, changed my life. I was like, yep, there
You
it
know
is.
what? I think honestly, most people are lactose intolerant because I feel like we're not meant to have that milk. Like it's not like it's a different species. So
Yeah,
I noticed
right.
that so many people, yeah, it's like it's a different species. So I
Yeah,
feel like our
exactly.
bodies don't process it properly. So
I feel
I
like
don't
that
think
too.
it's good for us.
Like you need a strong stomach, I think. Like if to really be able to
Yeah.
eat like everything that's made out of dairy, you just have like that diesel stomach that you could eat like tacos with like habanero sauce and be totally cool, you know?
Yeah, yeah. But yeah, I noticed that with a lot of people too. It's just lactose is no good for us, I think. I
Yeah,
don't know.
exactly. And I'm cool with it though. And even now, eating ice cream, like if I do it in doses, because there's a lot of
Yeah.
homemade ice cream up here in Massachusetts, like mom and pop like
Oh,
ice
that's
cream
cool.
places all over the
Yeah.
place. Yeah, I'm in northern Massachusetts, Lowell, Massachusetts, and it's like
Okay.
very close to the New Hampshire border if you're looking at the map. And there's like
Oh.
like that's a big thing up here is like these homemade like mom and pop ice cream shops. And when I
Oh,
first
that's
moved up
cute.
here, I would they're always like the crazy flavors too. And then
Yeah.
but I knew I was always gonna get sick. But like I think I'm getting
Ugh.
myself used to it because like every summer I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm gonna tough it out. I know that I'm lactose intolerant.
Yeah.
But
I
now that
wish
you
that
know
they
my
would do
disease
more
state,
though.
now that you know my disease state, you know what I mean? I
Yeah.
move on. So Miss Jen, you are a professional makeup artist. You do
I
professional
am.
weddings, you throw down. And when I see what the biggest thing that always that I reflect, I don't know crap about makeup. I know that makeup is in that section at CVS when I walk in, like, but
Yeah.
when I get my gel, I have to walk through the makeup section to get the gel for my hair, like
Yeah,
that's as much as
totally.
I know about makeup. But your transformation videos, oh my God,
Thank you.
and the way you just reflect the positivity of it, it's like, you're going from beautiful
Yeah.
to even more beautiful. Like,
Yeah.
tell me about that. Like, what's your mentality making those videos?
Well, I always try to do beautiful before and beautiful after because I don't
That's
want it to be that they're only pretty with makeup, you know? Especially being a mom, it's not a message I want to give that you're only pretty when you wear makeup. You know, most of my days I'm not doing all this. Like I'm glammed up for this, but I'm usually not
well,
wearing much makeup, if anything at all. And I don't want to give the idea to women and people that these women are only pretty because they're getting their makeup done. Like, yes, we want to look fancy for a wedding day or a special event. And that's kind of how I like to, put it out there. Like you're getting fancy. It's not needed for an everyday, but for a wedding or something exciting, you get a little fancy.
yeah, and makeup is always the additive to that, like that's what,
Yeah.
like, like the before and afters of even like, the richest celebrities in the world, they have,
Yeah.
like a makeup artist like yourself, like on call, like, hey, I gotta go to
Yeah,
to
totally.
CBS, and I just won an Academy Award last night. Let me call my girl Miss Jen, to make me up for that, like
Imagine.
so makeup
It'd be
is part of
lovely.
the culture. It's part of like, it's
Yeah, it
vanity.
is.
And as much as vanity is like almost like a bad word these days, it's not. To me, it's
Yeah.
not. So many fairy tales is about like looking into the mirror, like who's the most beautiful of them all.
Yeah.
And I think that's just human nature,
Yeah.
it's nice to look at nice things, like and
Yeah. We
it's
want to look
funny. I
good.
so obviously being the nerd that I am, I went back and I looked up the history of makeup. And my first
Get out.
assumptions were like we all kind of have an idea where we see makeup, but I had to
Yeah.
see if my assumption was right. So when I looked back, I actually watched an 8-minute YouTube video about the history of makeup for the research and
Get out of
development.
here.
Yeah. And what I got
Look at
was, and
you.
I was almost right. Makeup really, really started with all the tribal African, like all like when we were really tribal, like before we were like talking and like writing books and stuff. They would do war paint, and that's what was really like the first makeups ever, and it was made out of like animal blood and stuff. And then from
Oh,
there,
nice.
yeah, right? Isn't that crazy? And then from
Yeah.
there, it went to the Egyptians. The Egyptians were the ones, and that was where my assumptions were where like makeup started. The Egyptians, because
Yeah.
if you remember like they have the eyeliner and like the like if,
Yes.
I don't know if you've ever
It's
seen
like
if
the
you remember
cat
like
eye that, yeah,
yes,
that everybody loves now
yes,
too.
the cat eye.
Yeah.
See,
It
I
came
would have
back
been like, oh,
around.
that eyeliner stuff. See, you know the terminology. That's why I need you here.
Yeah. Yes. I got you.
And then the last awesome tidbit of it was one of the big things with makeup on tap was where this is where I'm very familiar with because I do have a skincare routine is animal fat and blubber being
Mm.
used to moisturize your face. Like that was like,
Wow,
and then that was
really?
the start. Yeah, so I just totally geeked out on you. But my
I
question
love
for you
it.
off of that is like I still do Noxzema and like like that like it's always like
Yeah.
the makeup. I was always told it's like what why do you use Noxzema? Did your mom teach you that? I'm like, yeah, she did actually, growing up. Like she was like, use that's why because I used to always like break out as a little kid.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah,
what's
oh,
your
me
skin
too.
type routine when like people are like, like have to glamorize and stuff like that? Like what's the like what would be like something you would tell them to like skincare before you think that they're gonna get glammed up?
Yeah, well, I mean, I always tell them to make sure their face is clean and moisturized because we need a moisturized base for them to, put any makeup on their face. I try, I mean, like, I'm not an expert with skincare. The estheticians are usually better with that. But as long as their face is clean, dry, and as prepped as it can be, then that's perfect, because a lot of the women, they don't. They're like, "You know what? I don't feel like doing all that." And I'm like, "That's fine, but the better their skin is, honestly, is the better it's going to look with the makeup because, you can't fix the texture of someone's skin. If it's bumpy and it's not taken care of, it's still going to look like that, and we can't do anything about that. So going with a good skincare routine is the way to go for sure.
Yeah. So what would
Clean,
you like? Yeah, like what
moisturized.
yeah, what are your like favorite like facial creams and stuff like that? Because now
I
I'm gonna
like
write this down for myself.
Yeah, totally. You know what I love to do? I love to go to TJ Maxx and they have like this whole entire aisle of serums and oils and all the stuff that's usually so expensive. And you go there and it's so much cheaper. So I like to get, excuse me, a serum or something like that, just with good ingredients. So you put the serums on first or an oil, and
Mhm.
then you put on, oh, always clean your skin. And then after that, you would have to put on, I like to do a toner, even something so simple like witch hazel, just like you can get that at like CVS or anywhere.
Yeah, of course, of
Um,
course.
and there's no alcohol in it, so it's not harsh on your skin. So I'll usually
Mhm.
put it on a pad and I'll do the witch hazel. Then you can put a little bit of the serum on if you have it, or oils. And then you could put your creams on if you do. I really like, if I'm being honest, I don't fuss with it too much because I'm just like getting by every day with my life.
No, of
Like
course,
I'm like waking
and
up, oh, the baby, this, that.
I
I'd like
think
to
that yeah,
pretend I do.
making sure that the babies are fed is good is better than making
Yeah.
sure the blemish doesn't show up on your next YouTube video.
Yeah. But then I
Priorities,
love,
priorities.
yeah. The most important is the moisturizer. So I love the CeraVe one. I'm like, I even like have it actually next to me. I love this one. It's the moisturizing cream.
Oh
So then
yes,
if you
yes,
have
yes,
all
yes.
that on, yeah, and you can get that anywhere. It's so gentle. And I use it on all my clients because it doesn't matter what type of skin they have. It's so gentle. But the
Mhm.
cream one, it just like melts everything in, and that's the best one, in my opinion.
You want to know something funny?
Yeah.
I work in an not right now, but I at one of my previous jobs I worked in the neonatal ICU, and that is what they used on the babies, with like the really kind of like
Oh,
gentle,
really?
really skin that's still like it's developed, but like it's still very sensitive. And that's
Yeah.
what, like they would get like a little bit of a rub down with it. Yeah, like I always remember the CeraVe and
Yeah.
what was the other one? The Aqua 4 too was another big one that they would use
Yeah.
in the NICUs. And so that when you pull
Yeah.
that out, I was like, I've seen that medical grade.
Flashback. Yeah, the
Yes,
ceramides
exactly,
and all that.
exactly.
Who knows? Like, and so much stuff is marketing too. So you don't know. And I just really like to try everything myself because it's tough to just like take everyone's word for it because it's all marketing. So
No,
that
and
part
that's
of it is
they're
tough
always
too.
trying to sell something new to you. It's like, oh, buy this $200 of a bottle of whatever, whatever. You know who got me
Yeah.
once was what it was a very, very good looking Brazilian lady in the mall. You know those ladies that like stand there, and I was just walking by, and
Mhm.
I did have like a bad blemish, and she called me. She's like,
Oh,
"Hey, do you want
she
to get
called
rid
you
of that
out.
thing on your forehead?" And I was like, "What?" Like, yeah, and then
You're
pulled me
like,
in the store.
"Oh,
Like,
now that
I
you
walked out
shamed
with a bottle
me."
of $70, like, you know what it was? It was like apricot scrub. That's what it was, and it was $80. I don't know why the hell I
Did it
brought it.
work?
I
Did
did
it
it,
work?
and it lasted me a year, and it did it. It was cool. It was a little bit better than
Yeah,
you would like, the 3.99 bottle at CVS. But yes,
a
I
little
did get
bit.
conned one time to buy one of those crazy skin cleansers, which is you can
Oh
get the
my
same
god.
thing, like you said, witch hazel at CVS. I definitely agree with that.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
but and also they shame you into it, so it's like you kinda have to, because 'cause you're like, "Oh, great." I remember, like, back in the day when they used to have those proactive, um,
Yes,
those little kiosks, I would,
of
like, go
course.
past them like, "Please don't look at me, please don't," like, afraid they're gonna be like,
Yeah,
"Hey,
Roosevelt
you."
Field style. Yeah.
Yes, you're just afraid they're gonna be like, "Hey, your skin looks like shit,
Hey,
so come on
hey,
over."
exactly.
Like, "Please, please don't look at me. Please
It's
don't,"
like, no,
like
it's like, "Okay, fine. Here's my $200. Just go. Just
yeah, just
tell
don't
me how
talk
much
to
I
me and leave
suck."
me alone. Yeah, exactly. Don't shame me. So,
It
yeah,
it's
so I
funny
get
too,
it.
like yeah, I remember that. Like, you just touched into a part of my brain I haven't thought about in a while because I remember
Right.
senior year of high school. So you graduated '01 or '02 in high school?
Oh, two.
'02. Okay, so I graduated a year before you. '01
Yeah.
during wrestling season, I wrestled in high school. I broke out horrifically bad that season. I guess like the mats or
Oh,
something.
yeah.
So by
Oh,
the end of
yeah,
the season, I
probably.
was my skin was destroyed, and I wasn't planning on going on prom anyway. But I was like, just in case, I want to keep my skin clear. So I actually went to like a dermatologist and all that. But I remember walking through the mall, and I think no, it might have even been Green Acres. It might have been Green Acres. I was walking by one of those proactive people, like, "Hey, do you know how you could take care of your skin?"
Oh god.
Straight up. So you just, yeah, I haven't thought about that in forever.
You can't make eye contact. Because you gotta just not look, or you gotta so
That's
I always
so
have, like, I
funny.
always say I have a city face, like, if
Yeah,
I'm going to the city and I'm by myself, like, I have a city face,
yeah. You
and so
don't
I'll
look at
kind of
anybody,
just,
but you're still
like, make a
looking up.
mean face. Yeah, like, or you kind of, like, make a mean face because my natural way to be is always like, "Hi," but then I always invite all the weirdos to act by being friendly to come and strike a conversation with me, and then they never leave me alone because 'cause I'm too nice. So now I try
That
to just
happens.
walk,
Yeah, I see that. I see
like,
that. Especially like,
unapproachable.
no, it's not even like, yes, you have to be like, it's almost like hi, I'm being nice, but you don't approach. It's like if
Yeah. Well,
like I feel
now I
like
have a mean face.
it would make you a more negative person if you were like, "Yo, I'm gonna look mad so nobody's around," like, and that you're
Don't
acting that
have
out every
to.
day. Eventually, you're just gonna be mad.
Oh, yeah, no, I only do that if I no, on my everyday life, I'm like, "Hello," like, I just walking down the street, "Good morning," like, that's how I am, but if I'm in, like, New York City and I'm feeling, like, a little bit uncomfortable or somewhere where I'm not feeling, like, as safe as I normally do, because it's different. I think it's so different for men because I'll talk to my boyfriend about it, and he'll be like, "Really? You feel that way?" And I'm like, "I think it's just more of a woman thing, like, that we feel more, um, nervous if, like, we're walking at
No, it's
night alone or if we're
vulnerability.
in the
It's
city by
vulnerability.
ourselves." Yeah, and it's so if I'm in the city, going to do something and I have to walk around and I feel like eyes are on me, I give my bitchy city look. I give, like, my
No, it's and
I
that's
give
what you have
it
to
out
do.
of it.
You grew up in
Yeah,
New
that's what I
York, so
do, and I get much
you know
more
the New York
alone.
survival kit.
I am, yeah, exactly, I know because I know what I've done in the past to be like, "Hi, how are you?" And then they just follow me, and I'm like, "Oh my god, what did I do?" So now I have to give the old
Yeah, so
tough look.
you can't be nice all the time. I used to
No, you
always point
can't. You
to my
gotta
earphones.
sometimes be careful.
Yeah, I would
You
like point.
gotta
I wouldn't even have my earphones on. No music would be playing, but I always have them on throughout my years since like high school. Just always have them on. And I would
you would.
up here it's called the T, but it's a subway. And mine
Yeah.
always stay
Oh, yeah,
on
yeah, yeah.
anytime. anytime those dudes that are trying to sell CDs, I don't know if you remember that back in the day, like bootleg
Yeah.
CDs and all that stuff, or
Oh
like,
yeah, and the
yo, buy my
DVDs.
demo.
Yeah. Oh God,
I,
yeah.
I
And
would
I'd be like the
I would
nice
point to
person
the
to take
earphones.
it.
Yeah, I would always point to my
Oh, good
earphones and be like,
idea.
sorry, can't hear
Well,
you.
you know, in New
Can't
York
hear
City,
you.
they don't care. They'll be like, take them out. They'll be like, take it off. I want to tell you something. It's like, oh my God. All right. So
I know.
and
Actually,
I
that's true. In
always
the
am
New
like,
York,
I
they
don't
probably
have
be a little more
cash
pushy.
on me. I don't carry cash. Yeah. Yeah, you gotta have your wits about you after living in New York, or if you're ever like, so you're not as close to Boston, but well,
Well,
actually,
I
honestly,
work in
Boston's not
Boston.
that bad.
No, it's
Oh, you
now
do.
there's
Okay.
when I
That's
first
where the
moved up
hospital
here,
is.
there were definitely more differences. There was
Yeah.
like it was like it was more like blue collar Boston. Like figure like Boston was like a big
Yeah.
Queens. Like figure like that. Like
Yeah.
like not so mixed, but like we had every section, in Boston. Now it's like
Yeah.
gentrified and it's like $1 million condos all over the place. They're tearing
Really? I
down
haven't
whole
been in a
neighborhoods.
while.
Yeah.
Uh,
Well,
but
you always got
I've
a
been to
tour guide
Boston
up
a
here if you
lot,
ever do
but
want to come up.
yeah, I've been to Boston so many times, but I haven't been in a good handful of years now. But I think that Boston's like a nicer, cleaner, quieter version of New York City. New York City's a little much for me. I just get a little like, it depends though. Like you said, neighborhoods are different. Like if you're in Times Square, it's crazy. But
Oh
if
my
you're in a
God, yeah.
different neighborhood, it's quieter. I like the quiet. Maybe it's just like now, now that I'm
Yeah,
older and I got
of
so much
course.
going on that I'm like, I need peace. I don't want to hear all the noise
I lived
ever
in Boston. I
anymore.
lived in a section called Allston. It was Allston, and it's a little
Yeah,
bit outside of the city, but not too far. Like I was right on the subway line, and I lived there for 10 years.
yeah.
And just like
Wow.
sirens and all that all the time. Like it was on a pretty busy street. And
Oh,
yeah, and then when I moved up here I live in a condo now in Lowell, Massachusetts. When I heard crickets outside and then I could hear like the one car that drove by on the road, I was like, "Oh, this is quiet." Like I remember once upon a time I had to put the fan on
yeah.
to brush out the sirens,
Yeah,
and
because
now
it's
it's
almost
like
too
it's so
quiet. Yeah,
quiet here.
oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. Do you
So I
like it
appreciate the
quieter?
quiet
Do you like
also.
it more city? Yeah, you do. Yeah, it's well, actually, so I previous to where I'm living now, after my divorce, I was living in an apartment in Farmingdale just temporarily I lived there for about a year, but we were on the main road, so it was
I know
so
that like when our
pleasant.
social circles were entwined many, many moons
Yeah.
ago, those
Yeah.
guys are still my friends now. They're still like, like the Chris Lilos and everybody. And
They
well, there used
are?
to be a bar.
Oh,
Yeah, there
that's
used to be a
good.
bar over there in Farming that we would go to, but I can't remember off the top of my dome. But I remember it was always like, why are we going to Farmingdale?
Yeah, yeah, and now it's,
Yeah, I
like,
can't remember the bar.
easier, but
I'll find it later. I'll text it to you. But yeah, so it
yeah,
was
because 'cause
all
I'm like,
yeah,
I
so
have
how
it
do
in
you
my
like
head, but
so
I
then
can't
from
remember.
Farmingdale, where did you move?
Well, so I was there and it was so busy on that street, like, speaking about how it goes from, like, sirens to, and my car even got hit on the street just from being
Oh,
there,
boo.
and now I'm in a house and, in a nice little hamlet, and it's so quiet. It's just mentally, it feels so much better. It's just
I think you
peaceful,
probably
and
sleep
that's
better
all I
too.
want. Yeah, I sleep better because I get yeah, because it's just loud. And we heard a car coming down the street the other night, and we're like, "What is that?" We're like, "Oh my god, remember when"
Yeah,
trust me, it's
that's
way
what I mean.
better
I
than
love that.
living,
Yeah, like
how I
when like that
did.
one car drives by and you hear it, you're like, wait, hold
You're
on. It's
like,
like that's how quiet it
"What's
gets,
going on out there?" Yeah, we had someone, he was, like, on a quad because we're by, the preserve, the Massapequa Preserve is right behind us in our
Oh, okay.
backyard. So I guess a lot of people have quads and things like that, but the guy was just it was, like, midnight, and he's driving around in his quad, and we're like, "What are you doing? Like, what's happening?" And I'm like, well, you know what? I'll take it because it's quiet most of the time, so
It's
go
better
ahead.
than
Do you."
hearing screams, like from like
Oh
someone
my
getting
god,
attacked outside.
yeah. Oh, and yeah, and I was so close to the bars that I
Yeah.
once had some guy knock on my window, right? This is when I either just had the baby or I was like weeks from having the baby. This guy
Oh my God.
knocks on my window. He's bleeding. I'm like, what? And he's like, oh, because I guess the landlord had put golf clubs out to, leave for whoever. And he's like, can
Yeah.
I take these? I'm like, yes, go, get out of here. Like, he's like, no, I had the window open. I'm like, oh my God, what's happening? And he lingered, and I'm like, oh Jesus. Like, I
That's
was so
so
happy
bad.
to
That is
to
my
get out.
biggest fear. That is my biggest fear is opening up my like I have like a
Yes.
glass door that goes out to like the parking lot of the condo complex. My biggest fear is that I open up that curtain and someone's standing on the patio. And
Oh
like
my
for
God.
8 years.
Terrifying. I always keep a bat because like,
Right?
but for real,
Exactly.
like I was
Yeah.
like, I'm getting my bat, and I'm like, but then again, like, what am I gonna do with a bat? Like, I'll
No, no.
turn it
What
into
I
money
always
and
say,
they'll
and
take
in
it
Long
from me.
Island, you're good. Just call 911, because they'll be there fast.
Yeah,
On Long Island, it's not like you're
true.
living in a place where it'll take 5 minutes for the cops to get there. If you call 911, they get there quick. So that's what I always say. If you ever hesitate, just call 911. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah,
good,
I
that's
don't know.
good. No, I promote that. I promote that definitely. And it's always like
New York
it's
is
it's also like
crazy.
just kind of like a security blanket too. Like to just knowing that it's there. It's
Yeah,
like that makes you feel good. But
yeah,
so
totally.
let's get back to this makeup stuff because that is
Oh
where the
yeah.
money is
Oh yeah, what
made,
is that
right?
stuff? Yeah.
um, so what the products that you use with your customers, um, what kind of like what are the different types of like foundations? Like like when it comes to that type of stuff, like I have no idea. So let's say I'm a I'm a pretty girl, you know, ready to be okay, Jen. I am here for
Yeah.
a first interview.
All
What is
right.
up?
You coming in? Well, okay, so yeah, I'll like explain kind of like the process if you want.
Yeah,
Like,
of
not, I won't
course.
get like, I won't bore you with the details of all the makeup steps, but so
Nothing bores me, so
usually,
no worries. I geek
yeah,
out about
okay.
everything. Egyptian makeup,
All
remember?
right, awesome. True, true. I love that. But yeah, the war paint and the blood.
Yeah,
I wonder if they like
yeah, right. See,
use
see, see.
that as like, oh
Well,
yeah,
a trickle of history, a trickle of social
a little
studies. It's
blush
good.
of blood. Yeah. Beautiful. Um, well, I saw that celebrities were doing like the vampire facials. So that's what it made me think of when you said that they used to use animal blood as like moisturizer because I
Yeah,
saw like I guess it was like Kim Kardashian, like made it a
of
thing
course.
and she put like I guess they take your blood from wherever and then
Yeah.
they like prick your face and they put your actual blood like all over your face. It's like what a thing that some people do now, but it's a little
Ouch. I don't.
extreme one too. But
Yeah.
so usually the brides will come for either just to get their makeup done or they'll come for a makeup trial. So um, the different products I have a bunch of different products, ranging from, normal to high end. But like I said before, like so many products are marketed like crazy. Like the next new thing, this is the best, and that's the best. And you can go down such a rabbit hole wanting all the new stuff. So I really try not to fall victim to that. Like I'll have some staples in my kit that I know that a lot of clients want or that are like super popular. Yeah, because you got to keep with the times, but I'm not going to like replenish my entire kit just because something's cool for like a minute, because then it's so much money out of my pocket.
Of
But
course.
there's certain setting sprays that like go over your face that are really popular now. So I'll get those or things like that. And I like to try new ones also, but I really have such a, wide range of what I use. But the one thing I won't do anymore is work out of like someone else's kit. So for example, I was doing a wedding and let's just say it wasn't my favorite one that I've done. I honestly almost every single
We all
wedding
have
I've
people that we just can't work with sometimes.
oh my, it was a wedding. But like I always put a smile on my face to get it done. But I will say honestly, like most of the weddings I do, I love all my brides. There's just a few, I've been doing this a long time. So there's a few that stick out in your head as like you leave and you're like, okay. But
I'm
so
glad
it
I will
wasn't even
never
the
see them
bride.
again.
Yeah, oh God, yeah. But and you know what? It wasn't even the bride in this circumstance. It was her aunt. And she came with this suitcase of makeup, right? And she's like, I want you to work out of my suitcase and use my stuff. And I have a bad habit of just sometimes being like a people pleaser and being like, okay, like I have a hard time saying no, and that's you too. And I've been working on it. I
Big
don't know if you
time.
have you worked on it. Have you been working on? I work on
Oh yeah,
boundaries,
of course. I've read all the self-confidence books out there. No worries.
right? Right, because it's hard because you don't. I I think too much. I'm an anxious person. I'm always worried about hurting other people's feelings. And
Mhm.
while it sounds like I'm trying to sound like it's a flex, it's not. It's like it makes me think too much and I think more about how somebody else feels rather than myself. So that's something that's like I'm working on. But so she's like, I want
No,
you to work out of my
it's
makeup.
I don't think it's anything bad because I think it's just empathy. You're like, I
Yeah.
don't want to make this person feel bad, so I am going to try
Yeah.
everything to make it good. And I honestly, personally don't think it's a bad thing. But it's like just like
Ugh,
anything, you
sick of
can't be
it.
too nice, you can't be too mean.
Yeah.
You can't be too this, you can't be too that. You have to like kind of like play as they quote unquote play the game, like be nice when you have to be. Obviously, you have to be nice to your boss, but you don't have to be nice to the creepy dude next to you in the subway in New York City. You know what I
But
mean?
yeah, but then with empathy, you kind of are like, oh, well, I don't want to hurt the creepy guy in the subway's feelings. But then you, after the years go on, you're like, all right, I gotta kind of like rein it. I gotta rein it in and
Well,
think about myself a
that's where
little.
like the whole being like, yo, I have to think about myself first. Like that
Yeah,
is like the base of it. It's like, no, I don't
it's
want to
hard
speak to you
though.
right now. So,
Yeah, because I
like
do find out later. I'm like, oh, I wish I said this instead, or I wish I said no to that, or so I learn from my experiences, and that's why my contract is now like 11 pages long because I've been in so many circumstances, like legit 11 pages long because I've been in so many situations where people have taken advantage of me saying yes because I felt bad. So I now
what was one
have
that strikes you? Like if
oh
you were
okay,
just to
so
like
with
pull one
that
out of the air.
woman, yeah.
Oh yes, okay, the makeup
Well, so
kit.
with
Yes,
that
yes, yes.
woman, she wanted me to work out of her suitcase. So she like brought all this makeup that she had. And I'm like, I don't know half these products. She was in her 60s. It's like products that I'm not as familiar with. I'm like, I can't work fast that way. Like I usually give 45 to an hour to do somebody's makeup. And if I don't know the products and I don't even know if this matches your skin tone, then, it doesn't make for really a pleasant experience. So, I want you to do that. I want you to do that. I want you to use my brushes. Um, so I started to, and then I was like, this is rough. I did it. I sucked it up, but then after that, I learned, no, I'm not doing that ever again. So somebody recently was like, oh, like, um, could you use all of my products? And I'm like, I can't. I'm sorry. However, the only thing I will do is if somebody like has an allergy or something and they're like, I want to use a certain
Oh yes, yes,
foundation
yes,
or
yes.
something, then I'll be like, all right, bring it, it's fine. Or if they want to use their own lipsticks or something like that, I'll be like, yeah, bring your lipsticks, but I won't work from like, A to Z with your
Yeah.
makeup because I don't know what I'm working with, and it could be like,
No, that's
I
and
don't
then just
know.
I'm just
So
thinking the
I like to
germs,
work what I'm
like
familiar with. Oh, the
uh
germs too, but it's yeah, the
like
germs because
you don't know what
as
you're getting
makeup artists, we
yourself
got to
into.
sanitize. Oh, I don't. And like sometimes you look at someone's like crusty products and you're like, oh. Or
They
I
haven't
had
been taken
somebody
care
once.
of. It's like this thing
Oh my God,
smells like
yeah.
1975, you know?
Yeah. It's like the Mary Kay stuff, like from a million
Yeah,
years ago. And you're like, I don't even know what this is though. And
and
I
she's like,
once
"Oh,
had
no, it's my
somebody,
rouge that I've been using since prom,
yeah,
baby, please,"
I
you
love
know?
the rouge. Yeah. And you're like, okay. But like at the end of the day, if somebody's like, oh, I want to look that, like for example, if they're like an older woman and she's like, I want to use my rouge and I like my blue eyeshadow, listen, I'll do it. I'm not gonna, it's not about me at the end of the day.
Of course, of
You
course.
know, so many different makeup artists are different. Many of them will be like, no, it's my brand, it's my name. and I'm not like letting anybody look like that. But for me, I don't really care, honestly. Like, I'll give you my expertise and I'll tell you what I think will look really great.
Like take it or leave
But
it.
yeah, but at the end of the day, it's your face. And if you're not comfortable with certain things, or if something that I wouldn't think makes them feel beautiful makes them feel beautiful, then I don't mind. What do I care? You know, I want them to be happy at the end of the day. It's not about my Instagram at the end of the day. It's not about my photos at the end of the day. Um, it's about making people feel good. And I think that's the most important part for me personally. And
See,
I
that's
want my
great.
brides to
See,
always
that's
feel
great.
that
There
way.
is there is your empathy being used in a positive
Ah,
way.
yep. There's the empathy in a positive way for
It's
sure.
like
Yeah.
psychologized or whatever they call it, you know?
Yeah, right? So for that, and you know what, I do think that my empathy does, set me apart a bit from the competition in that way, because I actually do give a shit about my brides. I actually do care. To me, they're not like a number and they're just not another, whatever. To me, I really do care. I really want them to feel beautiful, even if it like, over the years, I used to, when I first started, I would be offended, about criticism, or if they're like, oh, I don't like this, that, the other, a little more of this, a little less of that now. Like, I'm like, oh, hell yeah. Like, I want you to be happy. Tell me. I want them to tell me what they like?
And
So
then even on the
I
opposite
honestly
side
don't
of that, there
care.
might be some people that are just too timid to say something anyway, but I could see someone
Yeah.
like you getting that out of them, like, even if they're, like, being, like, apprehensive,
Yeah.
you'll probably be able to tell just by someone's face, like, "You don't like this. What can I change?" Like, I see you doing that.
Yeah.
1000%. Yes.
Yes, at the trials, I always do that. I'm like, "Listen, it's if you had to change something, what would you change?" Because I know myself, and being that empathetic person, if the roles were reversed, I know I would have trouble being like, I don't really like this." So, you try to phrase it in another way. Like, I always say, "Is there anything you'd like me to change a little, or anything that makes you feel more like you?" And then I'll always say to them, like, "Why don't you go into the bathroom for a minute? Why don't you take a few minutes and like look in the mirror in the bathroom and kind of like have a minute to yourself, so you don't feel like I'm like hovering over you, like, do you like this? Do you not?"
Do you like it? Do you like it? Do you
So,
like it? Do you like it? Like
yeah.
the
Don't you like
the
it?
anxious
And
attachment girlfriend. Are you there?
you
Are
like
you
it,
there?
right?
Do you like it? I
Right.
do you like me now? Do you hate me?
Yeah, exactly. Right, exactly. So I always do that, and I'm happy to change it. I always say, listen, and I always give them that like spiel, like, it's not about me, it's about you. And I'd rather you tell me, because did you see that thing on TikTok that went viral, that the girl washed her makeup off?
Yes.
And okay, so, oh, did you see it? Because
Yes, I did. Yes, I did.
I later on saw it, and it was, yeah, it was about the girl who's like told the makeup artist she loved it. Then she's like, "Oh, I can't wait to wash this off and make a TikTok about this." And then it's like humiliating for the makeup artist.
I
And
Yeah,
also,
no, I
like,
think but
you
it
could have
ended
just
up
told
being that.
her.
Yeah, I think it ended up being that she was like she did that on purpose. Like, that was her plan, like, no
It
matter
seemed
what
like
she looked
it.
like. Yeah, she was doing it for the
Yeah,
hits.
it seemed
And
like
that's
it.
some that's like, I hate when people do that, like, for the hits. And
Yeah.
obviously, as I sit here recording a podcast with you, it's all about the
Yeah.
hits. But when you do something just so awful, like the people that like open up ice creams at the supermarket and lick it, like, yo,
Oh,
no. Like,
I've never seen that.
oh,
Oh,
it was right
people are
before
weird.
COVID. Yeah, it was right before
Oh,
COVID. It was
cool.
like a trend on TikTok, I remember, and then people were like, "That's what started
Oh,
COVID." Was like people like opening up like the Ben and Jerry, because there's no like protectant on it, just opening them up and just
oh, oh,
gross to the
lovely.
most.
Good
And
to
I hate
know.
people like that, but there are
Yeah, me
unfortunately
too.
a subspecies of humans that act like that just for the
Yeah.
hits, and that's what that piece of trash girl did. And I felt like
Yeah.
exactly what you said was like the whole like, "Yo, you feel so bad for the artist, like that's
Yeah.
disrespectful."
Yeah, because also, like, I think most of us, most makeup artists, or most people would like would they like, I would rather somebody be honest with me and just keep it real and be like, like, even something so small, like, not everybody likes their eyebrows filled in. So something like that, like, what, I'm not really comfortable with that. Do you think you can wipe that off? And it's like, oh, heck yeah. Like, I'd be happy to, or at least give somebody an opportunity to like fix their mistake. Because even it's tough being a makeup artist, because I always tell the girls, like, bring me photos or, you know, give me some sort of idea of what you want. But sometimes they'll bring me photos of like J Lo or Kim Kardashian, and it's like, or people who are AI. And I'm like, these are not real. Like, this is
Yeah.
not, or this is edited so heavily and it's not realistic. You know, or if they show me something, sometimes things are lost in translation. So maybe if that's my interpretation of what you wanted, and maybe you didn't communicate it to me properly, or I didn't receive it properly, then it's like, just tell me. And I always say with my brides too, I'm like, listen, when we do the trial, I'm not kicking you out. Like, I don't back to back trials anymore for that reason. If they're not happy or if they feel like something could be fixed, I take my time and I say, all right, listen, like, I'm here. You're here. Let's do it. Like, I want you to be
Mhm.
happy. And I'll do it. So just being communicative to each other is super important. And caring about what they actually want is important. But they do have to communicate, you know? Sometimes they'll be like,
Yeah, no,
"Ah,
of course,
you
yes. You know,
didn't
like
do
you
what I wanted." It's like, "Well,
I can't
mine
know what you're thinking.
either."
You need to use your words, as you probably say to
Yeah.
your kids a couple of times. Use your words, use your words.
Use your words. I can't read your mind. Like, just speak. Use words. Yes, and sometimes people are difficult that way where they're like, "I don't know what I want." And it's like, "Okay." Um, and then if they don't love it after, you're like, "Well, I mean, you have to give me a direction because there's a million things I can do." So, but most people are good. And honestly, most of the brides that end up hiring me, 9 out of 10 times, they're like, "I want to look like myself, just enhanced for photos." And I love that because I love the idea of, like we said before, like, women are beautiful. Women are beautiful without makeup, and that's a big, strong message I always want to communicate. And sometimes I feel like I'm contradicting that by being a makeup artist, you know, and I don't want to ever give that message to anybody. So, and especially now, the girls are so young wearing makeup. And even my daughter, she's 7, and she was putting mascara on before school. And I'm like, listen, do you think you need that? And she's like, what do you mean? I'm like, do you think you're beautiful without makeup? And she looks at me and she goes, duh. She's like, duh, I know I'm beautiful. I'm like, oh, okay, good. I'm like, do you think you need makeup to make you feel beautiful? And she's like, no. I
Oh,
know I'm
hell yeah.
beautiful.
Hell
And I'm
oh, she's
like,
already
you know,
self-confident. You are raising
oh,
a
she's
queen over
so
there.
confident. Yeah, she is a queen. She is so confident. But, you know, like, in that little pause, you know, my heart was thinking, like, oh God, like, I hope she doesn't
Of
think
course.
that, you know, and I don't want other women to think that either. So I love that so many women are like, I love to look like myself, just enhance. Like, I don't look like this every day, but this, you know, is enhanced for photos, but it's also not a full glam where it's like unrecognizable. So
Mhm.
that's usually what the brides who hire me like to do,
Yeah,
which I like to
and
do.
always I always see the results on your Instagram, and I'm always like, "Holy smokes, that's it." You know, you're a makeup artist, but there
Yeah,
is like an art. There is like like you're
there
painting
is.
a picture. You are painting a picture.
Yes,
You're enhancing someone's look, and that is a science. I really
absolutely.
do believe. At the end of the day, like there is like like the little bits that I know, like contours and stuff like that. How you
Yeah, look
could
at you.
make
That's the
someone's
word.
appearance
That's a good
change
one.
so quick. Yeah, I always see it in haircuts for men. Like in men, like
Oh, that's
like those
true.
before and afters are always huge. And then I have this one friend, he always says it to me. He's like, makeup for men is a very good haircut. If you get like the whole sides with like the basically what you see
That's true. I
here,
didn't
if
even
you have
think of it that
this,
way.
yeah,
Yeah.
it can make or break you. And another thing that I started doing in my late 20s because of a girl that I dated at the time was getting my eyebrows plucked. I never knew like that was a thing for men. And it's like, yeah, no, it
Yeah.
enhanced my look, you know what I mean? So
Yeah,
like
why
so there are
not?
like there is as I said, we talked about it before, like the vanity, but there is a science to that. And you are that like a
Yeah.
translator of that science, which makes you the artist of it. And that's like what I
Yeah.
appreciate when I see whether it be the before and afters or just like just the portraits that you post. That's the
Thank
feelings that I
you.
get.
Thank you. And that's also when you want the like, because sometimes it does. not that it's frustrating, but sometimes when somebody won't listen to your expertise about it, you're like, "Ugh," because I can, like, we know how to sculpt the face and without it looking crazy, but if somebody kind of stops you in your artistry, you're like, "Ugh,
Yeah,
okay,"
no,
like,
it's
that
annoying.
part
It's
stinks a
annoying.
little. Yeah, because 'cause you're like, "Oh, but I know what." Okay, um, but like I said, I'll do anything, but my favorite is when someone gives me a direction, like, "Okay, I don't like this, I like that, and then I want you to put your spin on it." Then you're like, "Oh, thank you." You feel good about it. But you know what? Being that you said that about the haircuts for men, I follow this woman, the toupee queen, and
Toupee queen, what?
yes, I'm obsessed with it. If only I did hair, I would bring this to New York. Like, I think it's so cool. So she does toupees on guys, like young guys, like our
Yeah, no,
age, and
yeah,
and they look freaking awesome. Like she like will shave it down, she puts it on, and it's not like a cliche toupee where it's like a weird little thing on the head. It like she styles their hair and
yeah.
they look
I've seen those like
amazing.
TikTok videos and stuff. Like not her
I'm
specifically, but I've
obsessed.
seen those transformation of dudes like with the receding hairline, and then they put in like a perfect. It's like, whoa, yeah,
Yeah.
that
Yeah, she
great, yeah,
shaves the head and then she glues it on and then she styles the hair like as if it's a full head of hair. And like we were saying before about, it's not necessarily about the negative part of vanity, but it's confidence. Sometimes
yeah.
you
Of
just,
course, of course.
it makes you feel like yourself really, or like who you feel like you are inside, especially if a man, I'm sure they had, full head of hair back in the day, and then if it's gone, they're like, I just don't like feel like myself anymore, and then it gives them
No,
that
of
confidence.
course.
Or with women, it's like you don't need to wear makeup every day, but some of us like to glam it up, and now it just goes a little too far with the filters and stuff, and I really don't get into that. Like when it first came out, I was like, "Oh, that's cool. Like you can do that." And now I am like, "No way." Like it just gives such a weird perception of what we feel like we feel like we should look like, and it's weird. Like
It's computer
people get tricked
generated.
so much.
It's
Yeah.
computer generated, and that's like the unauthenticness of it, and which is like annoying, but at the same time, it's like I understand why it's there. You know, people pay billions of dollars to be put on magazine covers. That's where it started. You know, like the whole Vogue. You remember how big those magazines were when we were growing up. Not as much anymore,
Mhm.
but like the allure is there. Like, and we all knew
Yeah.
like that's why like Photoshop was like invented. So it's
Yes.
impossible to try to reflect reality on something that's like, yo, they based off like, or like, you know, like those smoothing filters on Instagram.
Oh,
It's
that's what
like,
I mean. Like
"Mm,
not
what are you
most, but
doing? What
many
are you-"
many women do
Everybody
that, or
knows you
they'll
just
just
use
use
the
a
filter.
complete filter. Yeah, but then it's like it's false advertising with makeup. It's like how I said before when people will bring me photos of J Lo and Kim Kardashian, like their skin in the photos are completely edited. Like it's
Mhm.
completely smoothed out. But then we as women feel like if people don't know that, and we as women look at that, we're like, oh, my skin doesn't look like that. Like I'm ugly, or we have
Oh,
such
boom.
negative. That's how a lot
Mhm.
of women feel. So it's
No,
good
it's and I
when
understand
people
that.
don't
Like
do those filters.
it's like you know, like you mentioned the baldness before with men. Baldness is a big one. I think of like for me personally, it's height. You know, like when I walk into a room, I am a whopping 5 foot nothing. You know, so definitely not the most like when it comes to height.
Mm.
I know that like 6'5" people are just gonna get better attention. You know, like it's and unfortunately, it's a harsh reality of it. You know, and
Yeah,
whether it be insecurities or whether it be just societal norms or whatever you want to call it, why not work with what you got instead of like
yeah.
reflecting back on like, yo, the world don't love me because I'm 5 foot nothing, and I'm like, yeah, I'm 5 foot nothing, but yo, that 6'5" guy is bald, and over here we got like we got the line and everything, you know what I
You're
mean?
like, "Look
Like,
at this. Look at this. I get my eyebrows done now."
yeah,
And yeah.
exactly, exactly. But that's the
And
thing
people
is
are
I always I
judgmental. It's hard.
No,
People are
it's like
judgmental.
that's society. That's society, and
It sucks.
that's why like you have
Yeah.
to like kind of like your daughter. Your daughter was a perfect example. It's like yeah, I know I'm like 5 foot nothing, or I'm not confident without makeup on. It's like you're beautiful without the makeup, and your daughter's like, duh, like
I
that's what
know.
the world should know. Like I wish we could play that for
And I hope
every
she
little
stays
girl
like
in America.
that. I know. And it's just, you pray that they stay like that because as you get older, it gets harder.
Well,
As you get
the world
older, it's
beats your ass. The world
tougher.
beats your ass. It
Yeah,
sucks. Whether
it
it's like
does.
whether it be toxic people, toxic jobs, toxic whatever, whatever, whatever. It's gonna mess something up. And
Yeah,
but it's staying. It's honestly having that childhood positivity. Where like
yeah,
like the one of the big plagues with like what I always see in like in with men in men lifestyle is men don't have friends. Like it's a plague that you see in America, like grown
yeah.
men. Yeah, they just for some
I
reason
guess
there's like
so.
it's almost like a crisis. I feel like not me.
Really?
I have friends all over the place, as I sit here with an action figure, but anyway,
Yeah,
no, but
no,
it's
it is
always like,
nice.
it's like that, like it almost becomes like a loneliness,
Yeah,
and that is like a plague with dudes, like where I'm always thinking like you got to be that kid on the playground, like you got to go and just get out there and play. And like you never know who
yeah,
you're going to meet, whether it be talking to someone on the line at TJ Maxx, getting your haircut. Like my barber became my
yeah.
best friend, like after COVID. Like, it was just like, it
Really?
was, you never
Well,
know who
you're
you're going to meet.
friendly.
Yeah.
You're friendly, so it's probably, you have a good personality, so it's probably easier for you. But yeah, I can see that. I could like looking back at some, guys that I know, like it's hard for them to make friends and I don't know. Like I think
It's
with
like you have
women
to keep that
though,
childhoodness though. It's like
yeah,
it's not hard for one of your kids to run on the playground and make like 100 best friends like in 2 seconds. Like
no, especially
that's
not
what
my
we have to
kids.
remember.
Yeah.
Like it's possible. It's possible.
Yeah, for
Yeah,
sure.
so here's a question, because I have an
Yeah.
8-year-old niece. I love her to death. She's in the little picture back here, but
Oh,
her name
you have to show me
so
later. Can't see.
yeah, I definitely will. Definitely will. She's 8. She's very like, like still like playing with dolls and stuff. But
Love it.
um my thing was it's like, like makeup is eventually gonna be a thing, like I think for her
Yeah.
communion, like my sister let her wear like I think like a little eyeliner or something. But
Yeah.
like what do you think, like to introduce someone, especially with like, like YouTube makeup tutorials? It's so like out there now. Like what do you think, in your opinion, both as a mom and as a professional makeup artist?
Yeah, I guess it's well, so if I have a flower girl, or I call them little rebels, if they want their makeup done, I always ask their mom what they're comfortable with because at the end of the day, it's their child and what they want. So I guess it's it's tough because you don't want to. I just know for myself what I'd be okay with, and I don't know what age would be appropriate, but I think less is more. Like
Good,
I have
good. This
different
is better.
pricing. Yeah, less is more for especially for young girls because it's like what do they need? Like
Mhm.
when I do younger girls, like your niece's age, like I usually just like try to make them feel really good. Like I see my daughter in them, or like I've always been like that with kids anyway. I was actually before this, I was teacher. And so I'll have them sit in my chair and I always will start off with, "Oh my God, you're so beautiful. We don't need makeup. It's just fun and fancy. We're just doing it for today, like stuff like that." And then
Fun and
I'll tell them
fancy.
something else
Great words,
like,
great
"Yeah,
words.
just for today, fun and fancy." And then I'll ask them something about school or something so that we're not focusing too much on their looks. I'd be like, "Oh my God, you must be so smart. I can tell, you try to not just make it about looks." But I, I put like a little blush on just to make them feel
Oh,
fancy, a little sparkly eyeshadow, a little
well, yeah,
this, a little
sparkles
that.
is
Nothing
definitely a
little lip
thing, yeah.
gloss, but I don't want them to like be transformed at a young age. But if they want to wear a little eyeliner, they want to wear a little mascara, why
That's
not?
great.
If my daughter did that to herself once on her birthday, was it her sixth birthday? I think it was her sixth birthday. She came out of her room and She did her best attempt. Like we were talking about the Egyptian, like the winged
Yeah.
eyeliner.
Yes,
She
yes,
took
yes.
my liquid eyeliner, and she had wings, and I'm like, oh my god. And she had mascara on, she put lipstick on, and we were going to a birthday, just like a birthday dinner with us and her dad and her brother. And I had to really think about how to respond because I didn't want to insult her, I didn't want to make her feel bad about herself.
Of course, of course, of course.
But you also like
Empathy,
are like, why are
empathy,
you wearing
empathy, Miss
makeup?
Jen.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. But I'm also thinking, like, why is she wearing such makeup? But I guess in her head, it was her birthday and she wanted to feel fancy for that day. She doesn't do that every day. She doesn't ever do that. So I texted her dad because, we're divorced. And I said, because and we were all meeting up for dinner. And I'm like, Melena is wearing winged eyeliner. Do me a favor. Don't say anything. Because I know he would be like, what do you do? Because, especially with dads with their daughters, it's kind of like,
Of
what are you
course,
doing? Don't
very
wear makeup, or
protective.
like
The
boys.
protectiveness is
Yeah, it's
always gonna be there.
protective. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. And so I'm like, she's just don't make her feel bad. It's just for today. And he's like, fine, fine. So, so if we're going back to your niece, if she wants to wear eyeliner and mascara or do something fun for that day and your sister's okay with it, why not? Let her feel special.
Cool, cool. Yeah,
Whatever.
that's a great answer. Yeah, that's a
Every
great answer.
day, no. But
Of
yeah,
course. No, I
for
mean,
that
that's
day,
probably good
why
for the
not?
skin anyway, just at that age. But yeah, it's
No.
always great because like I like it's like my mom was like very good at like making herself up. Like I always remember like the differences even when I
Yeah.
was a little kid, like when she would go to church. Like and she passed that down to my sisters. And my
Cute.
sisters are able to throw down on makeup too. But that is like something so
Oh,
far
hey.
away that like I never like I knew it was happening in the other room, but I was just like, I never paid attention to that,
Oh, that's
like
fun. Yeah.
yeah, like, I would more
Yeah, it's
watch my mom
cute.
cook, like and that's why I'm able to make, like, pollo guisado or
Oh,
anything like
good.
Latino.
Oh, look at
But the
you.
makeup part, I
There you
never really
go.
but I feel like that is also,
That's
like, a
okay.
mother to daughter pass down, like, that is, like,
Yeah,
one of
and
the
I didn't know, what if my daughter would be into that, and I never for a second like forced it on her, like let me do your makeup, like never. She just like naturally was curious about it and would
Yeah, of
like
course, of
still she
course.
like goes through my stuff all the time. So yeah,
Yeah.
it's a cute little bonding thing. Or
Yeah,
although
no, that's
I'll be like if she has her like little ladies dance or something, I'll be like, "Do you want me to do your makeup? You want me to like?" And I'm not gonna do anything crazy, but she's always like, "I'll do it, mom." And I'm like, people pay me like good money to do their makeup, Malena. Like, and you don't even want me to do it. Like, okay, but
and that just
she
reminded
likes to
me
do it
of
herself.
yeah, it's yeah, it's like kids don't appreciate it. Like the Rock, Dwayne the Rock Johnson, the actor,
Oh, I love
wrestler.
him.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah. So you love him to death. So this is a cute story. He there's an Instagram video, it got like 1 billion views. He is, he's in Moana. His daughter's obsessed with
Yeah. Oh,
Moana,
yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and he sings
Yeah.
that song. So he walks into the kitchen and starts singing the song exactly like the movie. And the little like 4-year-old girl at the time is like, "Stop singing, Daddy! You stink! Stop singing, Dad! I don't want to hear you singing. Put on the movie. Put on the movie." And you just see the Rock. Just,
Oh
it's a natural. It was
my
like a natural reaction. I was like, "Yo, that's." I died. I was
god.
like,
Yep.
that was the funniest thing I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah, that's parenthood right there. They just
Yeah, right. No
don't like
appreciation.
no, like they just yeah, to you they're just I don't know, like
They're
just
normal,
mom and
or even like
dad. Yeah. Yeah, and I guess that's good though for him, so that his
yeah,
kids aren't like,
of course.
Mommy
And
the
then
drama.
yes. So I
That's
have
funny though.
I have a project for you. All right.
Oh.
So once upon a time, Danny Hen was a I guess you would define a drunken bar brawler. I used to love getting into stupid fights at the bar, like an idiot.
Yeah.
I have this one infamous
Me too.
picture that from back in the day. I want you to take a look and tell me, as a professional makeup artist, I go to you
Mm.
with this face and I'm like, yo, I got a job interview tomorrow. What am I going to do? And
Okay.
figure that all I got is, do you see my face there? I know it's probably small.
It's oh, is that a bruise?
Yeah,
Wait,
that
it's
is
just
a black
oh
eye under my
no.
right eye. I wish I could
Oh
zoom in.
no. Oh, no. You know what, though? I actually did have to cover a groom's bruise under his eye. He had his bachelor party the week before his wedding, and, the bride was like, "Would you mind, this is a weird thing to ask," but I was also friends with her, prior, and she's like, "Steve got a, bruise under his eye." Same thing, he got in a drunken fight the week before at his
Us
bachelor
men, that's what we
party.
do. We like to
Yeah, I
prove our
guess.
macho-ness when we got 16 beers in us, you know?
Oh my God, I know, I
Stupid,
know.
stupid
And
stuff, but
then
it does exist.
so we actually I know. But you know what? It's also when you're young, you like think
Yeah, oh,
it's
big time.
different, but we'll get back
Yeah,
to that. But
yeah.
yeah, so I covered it up. We were hysterical laughing because his dad is sitting there and he's like, "Oh son, I'm so proud." Like we're all hysterical laughing. So it ended up being funny. But yep, a little
So what would you
concealer.
do to cover that up?
Yeah, I took a little concealer, a little bit of foundation, and it actually worked out great. I blended it in nice, so covered it. So and he didn't look like he was wearing
Perfect.
makeup, but
See, oh, that's great.
yeah, it worked
That's
out
great that you
great. So
have an
I have to send you
example
a
of it.
picture. It's hilarious. Yeah, I
That is
know.
great that you have
That
an
was
example. I
I'll
love
never
that.
forget that. That was so funny. That was so funny. But you
Because
don't drink anymore, right?
no, I
Is
am
that
sober
did you say you
now.
don't? Yeah,
Yeah, so
I
I
like
stopped
actually
drinking in
stopped drinking a few
2022.
months ago.
Oh, you
What,
stopped also? Good.
2022?
Yeah,
I
2022,
mean, I'm kind of like,
yeah, almost 2 years. It'll be 2 years, 6 months, April 15th.
wow, it's not
Yeah.
easy. I mean, I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm more like I stopped in the beginning of January and I haven't drank since, but um I don't, like I'm not like saying, "Oh, I'm never going to drink again." I'm just kind of
It's
taking
always
it
good to
like
take a break. It's
as it
always good to take
comes.
a break from anything,
Yeah.
you know, especially drinking is can for me, it was always like don't drink for 2 weeks and then I'm like annihilated for 3 days, you know, like that's what would always I
Yeah.
was never an everyday drinker. It was with me, it was always
Yeah.
the binge drinking. And then I always felt like, oh, people only like me because I'm wasted. So I'm going to just be wasted all the
Yeah.
time. And like any kind of
Yeah.
social settings, I would always be like, oh man, Danny's probably gonna be like falling over or being too loud. That was always one big thing of me. I
Yeah.
was boisterous,
Really?
super,
So
super
I guess
boisterous.
I
Yeah.
don't remember you that way. I don't remember you, but I guess
Yeah,
we
this
didn't
was
go
this
out a
was later
lot.
on. Like I was still having fun when we were hanging out, like when our social circles were close. I was still out there having fun. It got bad for
Yeah.
me, I want to say like after college, like there was like
Yeah.
23, 24. And actually that black eye, you'll relate to this one. That black eye was a fight. Actually, I was already living in Boston. I was working at a Boston hospital at the time, but I got into a fight in front of the Baglery and Rockville Center. Do you remember that like corner, Park Avenue?
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, of
Yeah,
course.
it was like 3 in the morning and like these I was a bunch of drunken dudes and I wasn't by myself. I was with 2 other dudes, 2 of my friends, and they just attacked us, out of nowhere. It was really, really weird.
Alright. Well, then that's
But
not on
that
you,
black
but
eye,
yeah.
yeah. And I was maybe like 4 or 5 months working my first full-time job, like real adult, like, respiratory therapist job. And I was
Yeah,
thinking about
yeah, you've made
covering
your
it up.
job.
Yeah. I was, like, so scared. I'm like, "I need to cover
Yeah,
this
because
up. I
that's
need to"
tough.
but I didn't. In the end, I didn't, and, like, people would ask, and I was like, "Yeah, I got into a stupid fight. It was dumb, but you know what? I'm fine, and everything's cool." But it's still embarrassing, but yeah, you don't wanna be that guy,
Yeah.
4 months deep and, like, cry. I wish
Oh, yeah, your new
Rebel was
job.
around at that time to come and hook it
Yeah,
up
he would
because
have
I
hooked
would have
you
been like,
up,
"Help me."
right? Come over
Run to
before your
CVS
shifts
and tell me to
and
grab some concealer and some what was it?
yeah,
What was it? Concealer and
little bit of foundation, just a little bit, but because with men, not all men, of course, some men like to get makeup, but with men who don't like to look like they're wearing makeup, yeah, just a little concealer, but it has to like blend into the skin seamlessly. But
all right, now I know
yeah.
I am putting that in the back pocket. Next time I have a UFC friend, that needs to have a job interview at Morgan
Oh
Stanley,
yeah, true.
I'll be like, "Yo,
Oh my God,
foundation, son."
yeah. Send them to me. Yeah, right. Get the concealer, get like the corrector, and then the concealer. Then you could put a little foundation, but yeah, send them to me. I've got extensive experience with
Yeah.
it.
It's always
So
so
it's
funny, but
funny
it's
though.
always like the things that you learn at your job that you could use in everyday life. You know, it's
Right?
always like the
Been
skills, the
through a lot
everyday
of
skills, and it's just life
interesting
experience too.
situations.
Exactly,
Yeah, a lot of
exactly.
interesting experiences, a lot of different situations, and yeah, sometimes
And
you're like
especially being
you
a
laugh
mother of
about
3,
it.
you're presented with crazy situations probably, like, every day, or, like, right, probably, like, I'm surprised I
Oh
was able to
yeah.
have you sit for almost, an hour and 6 minutes now, you know, like, we
So
got the recording
worked
session
out.
in, like, and I'm happy about it, and
Hell
that's what
yeah.
and you are number 1. You are the first guest. I do a podcast on the other side. I'm doing what I'm doing now is I started off with the Hen Dog Half. That was something I started when I
Oh,
got sober, because what was with that podcast was, I needed an outlet. I needed something to do, like idle hands do like
yeah,
the
I hear you.
devil's work. So like, and I was drinking all the
Yeah,
time, especially after COVID, like because that's all I
a
was
lot of
doing.
people were.
So yeah, so
Yeah.
when I like cut that down, I needed a creative outlet. I was doing DJing when I was in college, but I didn't want to whip those. Like, there's a lot of
What?
equipment in my closet. Yeah, back in the day, yeah, like
Yes.
right before I met you, but like
Yeah,
in
I
the
didn't know
college days,
that.
yeah, I used to scratch and hook. I used to love doing that. I love music in general. I love
Wow.
listening to music. Yeah. Actually, I have the table set. I'll
That's
show you on a
awesome.
FaceTime later on. Like, I have like
Yeah, show
this is my
me.
second
Yeah.
bedroom in my condo. Before it was just filled with boxes, but then when
Well,
I
look at
started doing this
you. Good for you.
half, I started building it up, and then I got Best Buy, the Geek Squad or whatever, to put the TV up on the wall. So it's like
That's
slowly
cool.
building. But with that, I started doing the Hen Dog Half, did that for years and years, very inconsistently. And then my friend, who I have phone calls with all the time, talking about wrestling, sports, girls, everything, everything that dudes talk
Yeah.
about. And I'm like, he was like, I was actually thinking, I was like, yo, we should do a podcast. And then he came up with a good idea. And then that turned into this wrestling's Mount Rushmore that I'm doing on that side. But now discussions, quote unquote, this is what I'm going to be calling it. I'm going to try to make an intro for it and stuff, is what I'm going to try to go
Yeah.
now for a third kind of type show on top of
That's
those two.
cool.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
you
look at
are my first
you.
guest on Discussions with
Ah,
Danny.
yeah. I love
Yeah,
it.
exactly. So I'm
That's
so happy to
awesome.
see
Good for
you. Yeah.
you.
So one
Me
last
too.
question I wanted to ask you. And we could end off with this, because this is the one
Okay.
I'm always like, yo, it's like, it's like East Coast versus West Coast. Sephora versus Ulta Beauty.
Oh boy. Um, I I have to say Ulta because
Yeah.
I love a good deal, and Ulta always gives deals and things like that. I love Sephora because they do have some brands that Ulta doesn't have, but I do tend to go with Ulta a lot. It's just easier and more affordable, and if I need it right away, I feel like I can get it quicker. And I don't know. I like Ulta. I'm an Ulta girl.
All
Sephora is
right,
cooler.
Ulta
I
girl
know
it is.
Sephora is cooler. People are like, what? But
I always say,
I
because
like
it's
them
always
both,
like they're
but
like
it
building
depends.
them right next to each other
It
now.
is
So
East
I'm
Coast,
always
West
like,
Coast.
it's the turf wars, It's
Yeah, I mean, like Sephora is cooler. I love going into Sephora, but then I feel like I'm like, you're spending like $500.
yeah.
So with Ulta, at least they do like a lot of deals and things like that, and they have a lot of the stuff like that. So I do love that. But being a makeup artist, you do get a pro discount at a lot of different stores and like different companies. So I utilize that
Perfect. Oh, see,
because
all
we
right.
buy
See,
so much makeup.
yeah, she
We
has
do.
she knows the deals. Miss
She
Jen
knows the deal.
is the makeup plug around here. Anytime I need
That's
a
right.
sack of concealer, I'm gonna be like, yo, let me call up my plug real fast, Jen.
Absolutely. Yeah. Your friend
Exactly,
fight.
dealing
Yeah.
it.
Tell 'em.
Jen, thank you so much. I am going to definitely have you
You're
on again. We'll be
welcome.
talking lifestyle stuff. We're gonna end the recording. We're gonna
Yeah, let's
talk
do
on the
it.
other side. But thank you for this recording.
You're
Great night
welcome.
tonight. All right.
Thank you. Yeah, you
Yeah.
too.